If you are on a self-discovery journey, this podcast is for you. We will explore personal growth through storytelling, candid conversations, and practical strategies to help us navigate through life's challenges and rewards. This is Your Access Has Been Granted podcast, the off season. All right, welcome back to episode 2 of the off season. Today we have our special guest in studio, Naikia Simone. And if you are a regulator, you know that episode 2 of Your Access Has Been Granted podcast was featuring Naikia. So what better way to reflect on episode 2 than with Naikia, right? Like, duh. So let's get into this reaction, reflection of what we were talking about and experiencing in March of 2021. First of all, do you realize it was March 2021?
I did not. No, I don't. And I couldn't go back and listen to it because I was under strict orders not to.
Amen.
But what I realized is that so much has changed and I'm a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah.
And let's let it roll.
So just for backstory, I had to go through the episode for production purposes to kind of manage time and to figure out what parts of the episode that I wanted you guys to experience in self-reflection. A lot of it's fluff because me and Naikia are best friends and we talked like we were on the couch in the living room. You might get a lot of that now, but with a little bit more control because we're professionals.
That part.
Hence the studio.
Big part. Okay.
Hey, Ty, let's start the episode, please.
Sweaty.
Naikia's nervous because she doesn't know what's coming. I know what's coming, but she doesn't know what's coming. I enjoy this, if I'm being honest. I enjoy it more for reasons that a part of my job as a coach is the reflection of it all. Mm-hmm. Like taking my clients through self-reflection and like, how are we going to get there? The celebration of it all, the change and the evolution of it all.
Yeah.
I get pure joy out of that process with my clients. And you're kind of my client. So it's kind of like, I'm getting joy out of what I know you're getting ready to experience.
Well, I'm excited that you're excited. So
let's go.
Regulators. You regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steal, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep.
You're tuned in to Your Access Has Been Granted podcast. Join the regulators weekly to mount up on topics focusing on developing self while exploring hot topics, culture, and music. Here's your host, Brittany Leary.
Mount up.
Regulators.
mount up.
Every time you say it, I'm loud. Because it's like perfect.
Dog.
And you've been waiting to say it.
I've been waiting so patiently to say it in a public setting. So,
welcome to episode 2 of Your Access Has Been Granted podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Leary, and today I have a special guest. But before we get to our guest, I want to say welcome back if you're here for the second episode. And you already listened to episode 1. And if you just joined us for the first time, I want to say hello. I want you to go back, listen to episode 1, because in this episode today, we'll connect a lot of the dots with my personal village. Naikia is one of my best friends. I said her name now, so I have to introduce her. My special guest today is Naikia Simone. She is a medical esthetician and owner of Art of Aesthetics Studio. Is it Skin Studio or Studio?
Skin Studio.
Art of Aesthetics Skin Studio. You have to say it right. Because when you say Skin Studio, you put your shoulder in it.
Yes.
And you throw your hair a little bit.
It's all the noise.
So, Naikia, introduce yourself to the regulators.
All right. What's up, regulators? As Brittany said, my name is Naikia Simone. I am a licensed medical esthetician, aka skin therapist, also known as a skin alchemist. I specialize in clearing acne, brightening hyperpigmentation, and really helping people to put self-care first. So I've coined the term as a skincare ritualist as I set out to curate wellness and self-care moments for women of color.
So right now, just a quick question before we get into logistics of the episode. Would you say that your passion is self-care or skincare?
Ooh. Off the dome.
Off the dome with the good. It just felt right at that moment.
Yeah, I think it started as skincare, but now I really see it as self-care. Like my skincare is my self-care.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I show up for myself. That's the way I pour into myself. And my goal is to help people learn how to do the same.
Let's pause it right there, Ty. First things first. Naikia, who are you? In that intro, you had 4 different titles. I can clearly remember when I made the post for the episode. You was like, why did you put skin alchemist? I said, because you said that in the episode, but you also said skin therapist, and you also said skin something else. Naikia, can you reintroduce yourself to the people?
Sure. I'm going to put a post-it there because I want to go back to that because I feel like it's such a period of time. But
Yes.
my name is Naikia Simone. I am a licensed esthetician in West Palm Beach, Florida. I am the reigning 2023 Best Esthetician of Florida, 8-time international award-winning esthetician for my case studies in acne, pigmentation, age management,
Period.
and medical aesthetics. I am also an aesthetics and beauty business coach and mentor. I am really passionate about creating community and still helping women to prioritize their self-care so they can show up as their best self in the world.
Period. Don't play with my friend. I just wanted her to give y'all that because at the end of the day, in 2021, we were in the beginning of our journey. And I feel like in self-reflection, you can hear that. You can hear that we were in the beginning of our journey.
For sure.
Now, what Post-it did you put there?
So my Post-it that I placed here, I actually brought Post-its, but I was like, don't write.
Mary Jane hit ass.
But the level of uncertainty and trying to figure things out, like in the background, you hear a baby cooing, and that's Nuri.
Mm-hmm.
Who is now 4 years old, who at that time would have been maybe 6 months old.
Yes.
And so she was present. I think there was also some breast pumping that was present.
Yeah, because you remember we had to redo that clip. So in that clip, you were actually at home. We did the majority of it in the studio.
Yeah.
But we had to redo that part, and that's why Nuri was in the background.
There we go. So just hearing her was like a moment for me, like, oh, my baby. But I was very much in a point of trying to figure everything out. In 2020, the global state of where we were in a global pandemic, and I made the decision to leave my full-time gig as a medical esthetician.
We're going to get into that, so I'm going to stop you.
Oh, she's going to stop me.
Because she's about to get going. And I need her to save that for the rest of the episode.
Okay.
Let's go, Ty. 15 minutes for me to do it alone. The episode's probably already going to be an hour because we're going to be chit-chatting. So I'm going to randomly select some questions just so that you can get to know our guest a little bit more. And then we'll move on to the good stuff in the episode. So the first question is, what is the best professional development book that you've read?
Strictly professional.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have the know-withal to fully grasp and understand 7 Habits of Highly Productive People until I read through the 4 agreements, and then rereading 7 Habits. It's like butter. So 7 Habits.
Okay, so we're going to leave that with your personal development favorite was the 4 agreements, and it allowed you to understand
The 7
habits of highly effective people, which is more of a professional development book.
For sure.
Okay, if y'all listen to episode 1, 4 Agreements was also my book of choice as far as personal development.
Can we have a segue to the first time that we read the 4 agreements?
Yes.
It was like story time with Brittany as we were driving from Palm Beach to Tampa.
I was trying to my podcast.
Yes.
2018.
Exactly.
I remember that so clearly.
This being a thing, it was a thing. And it was story time with Brittany. And we got through the first 2 agreements. And then you was like, bitch, I ain't reading to you no more. And
right. And you had to go buy your own book. So we were on the road to, was it Deer? Because it was something she was doing. Maybe a New Year's party.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a nice day.
We were on our way to our friend's Dearica's house for New Year's. She lives in Tampa area. So it was a 3.5-hour drive. And for the first 2 hours at least, I read the book out loud. And we had conversations like we were in class. And that's how she was introduced to the 4 agreements. I think we had all saw it circulating.
For sure.
But we had nobody who had actually read it to give us advice about it or to give us insight or review.
Right.
And once I started reading it, I'm passing along the information because that's the point. You give your friends stuff that's good.
Exactly.
You don't hold out on certain stuff.
Once you learn, you teach.
You teach.
That's
exactly.
From Auntie Maya.
That's from Auntie Maya. All right. Listen, so again, it's been 4 years. You're 5 years in business now.
Yeah.
What is your current most impactful professional development book you've read?
Professional development. Well, see, I feel like professional
They merge together.
and personal.
So let's just say, what was your most impactful book to date?
So to date, Atomic Habits.
I knew you were going to say that for some
You
reason.
don't know my life. Atomic Habits, I refer back to it often because, you know that our habits form our behaviors, which performs our life and how we address things when things go awry, when things are going well, how we like move through them and how you let things go. And so, Atomic Habits really put into perspective that it's not just like writing a goal down, but it's about the behaviors that you do every single day, that 1% that ends up adding up over time, that compounds, that really made a huge pivot or shift in my life. I think I used to be in a state of mind of where like, okay, I want this to happen and, I'm going to click my heels 3 times and it's going to happen. But then I started really understanding the power of change and the power of daily habits and the power of doing your best that day, even if it's just, moving the needle a tiny bit, it's going to make a profound difference. And so I've been able to apply that in my business. And when things get rocky and you go through transition, I refer back to those principles to get me over the next hurdle, because realistically, this life is a journey. And so I also thought that like you get to a point and it just like stops getting hard or challenging. But no, it's going to continue. You're going to have to continue to climb this mountain, continue upward and onward. And it really helps to bring me back to what you do daily equals what your life becomes. And so I love that book. Another one that I'm obsessed with is 5 a.m. Club. That helped to compound what I learned in Atomic Habits, but it helps me to create a routine. I am a 5 a.m. clubber. So I really enjoy rising before the sun. And I start my day the way that they talk about in the 5 a.m. club. And it's made a profound difference in my life. It's made a difference in my discipline and my consistency. It's helped me through postpartum depression, healing trauma. I am married, so it's helped me through marriage. It's helped me through faith. It's helped me through friendships. And so it's those 2 books have really been transformative for me since the last time we talked.
AKA reading is fundamental. Listen, if you are not an avid reader, we're not judging you. All I'm saying is reading needs to be a part of your routine, not just because you need to be knowledgeable about all things, but as you can hear, when you listen to her speak, you can hear the passion that she has for the things that she learned in those books. Like developing your mind, like who wants to not learn? You know what? A lot of people.
Well, I say that because it comes down to where your awareness is, right? Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to read. Like I audiobooked both of those books.
Yeah.
And there's pieces that were missed, but there's pieces that stuck. And so something that I learned from 5 a.m. Club is turning my car rides into opportunities for me to learn. I put on an audiobook instead of, listening to music.
Yeah.
And if I'm in the kitchen doing dishes, I put that on. So I have something that I can listen to. Yeah. And that's something that I also learned in Atomic Habits. So I think it's where your awareness is, but realistically, as we're on this journey, like learning never ends. I never want to stop learning something new because there's so many things under the sun. Like God created so many things. We don't know a fraction. So, and then like also there's nothing new under the sun. So you can find a cheat code in a book. Somebody's already written it out for you.
Exactly.
They've already given you play by play. And I think that that's made a huge difference in my life and in my business is let me just read what I'm struggling with so I can get stronger in it. And then I can use those as part of my toolkit moving forward. And so it's awareness though.
Yes.
You have to be aware that like, this is an area that I'm struggling in. This is an area that I'm challenged in. So let me then get the help that I know that I need. And there's a lot of bravery that goes in there. Sometimes seeking the help or being like, I'm doing self-development. It's given like the ick, you know, like in society, like if you go to therapy or like doing these professional, oh, you're doing that, you know, like in certain circles, it's not as celebrated. And I feel like it's being more celebrated, but that's also a part of my passion with self-care and what I do in my treatment room. Yes, I work on people's skin, but I have an opportunity to learn from them, but also to teach them, pour into them, share information with them. And I just went off on a tangent real quick. So,
and it's okay because some of what you said is going to come back up in the episode.
Sure.
But I do want to go back to the reading part of it. We talked about habit forming and what the work that we've done because of the knowledge that we've acquired from these books. And I think that's so important when you're talking about personal development. When you're developing, you need to learn new skills. You need to like seek out more information so that you can be aware of what you're dealing with, like you said, and be able to apply those things to get to the next level. And it's going to take a lot of bravery and courage to be able to get from where you are now to where you're trying to go. And you find a lot of those tips and tricks in books. When you read books, you're not going to take everything that you get from out of that one single book, but there's always going to be something that you can apply if you're intentionally choosing reading material that is going to help you through your personal development journey. So that's really the bigger picture out of it all, is like finding books that align with what you're going through or what you're aware that you need. I keep hitting this mic. What you're aware of that you need so that you can actually focus and actually learn things that's going to help you get to the next level. So we always just want to encourage you to read. And I want to just take a quick second to talk about 4 Agreements. Have you revisited it?
I haven't. No, not since then.
I told them on the first episode recap that I just re-listened to it on Monday.
Ooh.
And
You got through it in a day?
No, because the audiobook's only like 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I read it in a morning. I listened to it in a morning,
Nice.
a part of my morning routine while I was doing other things. I just listened to the book and I took away a big piece of that courage and how the 4th agreement is the grace of it all. That doing your best is a representation of grace because your best is not going to always be the same. And on top of that, you're not going to always do agreement 1 through 3 properly. Sometimes your words are not going to be impeccable. Sometimes you are going to take things personal. Sometimes you're going to assume. It's natural for us to do the things that we're used to doing. But doing your best is where that grace comes in. Doing your best is where you are allowing yourself to be like, okay, I fucked that up today, but we're going to do better. We're going to go back and we're going to fix that. We're going to effectively communicate because I have the courage to do so. I have the courage to accept that I did something wrong or I didn't do my best or I didn't do what I should have done and I'm going to go back and fix it. So the 4th agreement reread in this new mindset was a plus. So I'm going to encourage you to reread it or listen to it quickly.
Yeah.
It's only two hours and 30 minutes.
It's in my library. So
you
I'll
work
do
out
that.
for 2 hours. So you'll get it. We can keep going, Ty. One new personal skill. What would it be?
So, a personal skill that I would like to develop.
What are you lacking in your personal skills right now?
Because you don't know what you're saying. It's hilarious.
Taking everything personally.
Oh, we're getting to the nitty gritty.
So yeah. Hi, my name's Naikia Simone. I take everything personally.
All right. Next question. If you could bring back any fashion trend, what would it be? Wait, pause that, Ty. Let's go back and let her reflect on that last question. Because I need you to have a moment with that question. Because I don't believe that So now, 4 years later, almost 4 years later, how much progress have you made on that Naikia that took everything personal?
I take things less personal.
Yes.
Much like it's very different. It's been a long process. I still have moments where I take things personal, and then I work my process and realize that everybody is operating from their kind of like no one's necessarily doing something intentionally to you, so it's no need for you to take it personal. So I've had a little bit more grace for myself and for others, and so it's allowed me to take things less personally. So I get further and further away from being the person who feels like everything is an attack or everything is about me. And it's like, girl, everything's not about you.
Yes.
So I've worked to that point. I just, for anybody, I'm a Leo. I think we get a bad rep for thinking everything's about us, but nevertheless, I'm working through it. And to think now where I want to develop more. Right now, it's really about finances, investing, and budgeting, financial literacy, financial freedom, legacy building, wealth building is where I want to learn more. I want to understand all the things so I can plan strategically for my brand, for my family, for our future, for my daughter. And I feel like I wish I knew more at this stage in life. And so my goal is to make sure that my daughter knows more at a younger age. So.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I want to just touch on quickly before we move forward. What emotion hit you when you heard yourself say that? Because your face balled up when you heard yourself. Hi, I'm Naikia, and I take everything personally.
It's almost like, oh God, I know her.
Yeah.
I know her. Poor thing. Everything was personal.
Right.
And then you operate because of the way that I was viewing life through a lens. And I told you recently, I feel like a veil has been lifted. But that was one of the veils, was that everything was a direct attack or a direct attempt to harm me, derail me, do something. And so there's also a smile that comes in. It's like, oh gosh, it's cringeworthy. But then it's like, oh God, I don't feel that way anymore. So it's
and that's the beauty of self-reflection. And that's why I decided that this was the best way to bring the audience up to date to who we are today. Because the beauty of self-reflection is you really being able to hear yourself and see yourself and feel that emotion of where you were then. And then have that moment of gratitude, like, God, I did the work. I did the work. Because sometimes when you're doing the work, you don't realize the transformation.
There's nothing in the middle. There's there's 40 days and 40 nights.
It's like a cloud sometimes, and you're just going, and you're just fighting, and you're just going.
Yeah,
it's ongoing. There's no stopping. There's no direction. You have a destination, but the direction changes.
Yeah.
Almost every day sometimes, depending on the mood, depending on what external things are happening, the direction is what's the confusing part. Because we can write it down. We can create this end goal.
Correct.
We can even plan it out to how we're going to get there. And I don't know not one plan that I've ever made that's happened exactly the way that I said it was going to happen.
Oh, no. I think God delights in us planning stuff out and him being like, haha.
Yeah. Look, I put that destination on your heart, but nobody told you
exactly how
you were going to get there.
Facts.
It makes sense to you, but my thoughts aren't your thoughts. That's what God says. My thoughts are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
So you're thinking from your perspective and from your level of logic, but I see things so much bigger and so much clearer. And that gray area of the journey is hell on earth. Because every time, like you said, you take everything personal. So you were taking everything personal.
Yes.
So excuse me, because there's power in the words. You got to speak. Okay. You were taking everything personal, and you felt like everything was a personal attack. Every time you were derailed, it was a personal attack. Every time you failed, every time things didn't go exactly how you planned, you felt like it was a personal attack.
Yeah.
And how many times did it slow you down, or you became stuck because it was a personal attack?
Yeah.
So the evolution of it all, and us being able to understand that although we have an end goal and we have the big picture, the destination of it all, the direction is always going to change. And accepting that early on in the process is game changing.
Oh, yeah. Now I recognize the messy middle. I think that we're given point A to point B. And, like when you're connecting dots, like I used to love going to like Outback and stuff, and they would give you those kids menus and you would connect the dots and stuff. So just for the people who are like, what's the thing when you see things in your head? Visual learners. That's what I want you to think of. But between point A and B, like there's the line that you have to draw. And it's like, to me, that's the messy middle. And so as soon as you bring it to like your awareness, okay, this is what I want to do and this is the result that I want to have. There's going to be, and realistically, this is who I am today and this is who I want to be in the future. Because if you want to grow your business, if you want to change your financial situation, if you want to, start a podcast, if you want to do whatever, there's a version of you today that exists without that thing. And there's a version of you that needs to be created, formed, crafted, sculpted in order for you to create or to complete that thing at B. And so that messy middle, that's where the magic happens. But I think I've learned to like take my hands off the wheel and to see the things that are coming as obstacles, as opportunities for me to get stronger, opportunities for me to be like, okay, this is really what I want. It's going to take a different version of me. Me wanting to create wealth and financial freedom for my family, for my kids' kids is going to take a different version of me. I'm willing to go through the messy middle and understand and be a student and not know what I'm talking about. I mean, I take pride in knowing what I'll be talking about, especially I feel like at this level of the game in my respective industry. I know a lot, and there's a little ego that comes along with that, to step into an arena where you know nothing and then have to admit like I've made it this far knowing very minimal. It's sometimes it's a gut check. So, but I know that being courageous throughout that process will get me from point A to point B, and realizing that like, hey, I'm just going to do what's in front of me. I'm going to take step by step, and eventually that 1%.
Day by day.
Exactly.
That's all I got for y'all these days. I don't have a lot. People be laughing. I say my days merge together so often. When I'm busy and I have a lot to do, the days merge together. Today, Friday, I can't tell you what it feel like. It could be Wednesday and it still be the same. Because the days don't hold as much weight as they used to. It's more task at this point. But it's more so because I'm present.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm mindful and I'm grateful. And I don't let other things that don't matter hold as much weight as they used to be no more. I'm not waiting for the weekend.
No.
Saturday could be the same as Friday. It could be the same as Thursday. I'm not waiting for the weekend anymore. If I want to do something on Wednesday, I'm going to do it on Wednesday. Yeah. So all I got is day to day for y'all. Don't ask me for too much. Come on, Ty, let's go. All right, next question. If you were famous, what would you be famous for?
If I were famous, I'm just going to speak it into existence.
Just say it.
It's going to be about skincare and self-care.
Period. That's just on period.
On period.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Y'all gonna hear that a lot. Especially if we got anything to do with it over here. You're gonna hear that a lot. Trusting the process.
Yes.
Episode 1 was trusting the process back then and today as well. Off season, I'm gonna reflect on episode 1, trusting the process. I've been in this with you, so I know how far that mantra has gotten us. But from your own personal experience, very briefly, can you explain how trusting the process being a foundational mantra for you has gotten you through so many things in the last few years?
I think it's faith.
Definitely.
And I had a lot of growth and healing that I needed to do to be able to walk in full faith and walk in full trust, both like spiritually and personally. And it's just knowing that even if you're going, I've heard somebody say this, maybe a few people, but like, if you're going through hell, keep going. And so trusting the process means that I know that God's plan is to prosper me. I know that I can continue to do things as I've always done them, or I can do them and do them differently and move forward. And so trusting the process is trusting myself and trusting the plan that God has for me. And that the storms don't last always. That I have so many sayings that old folks would say in my head right now, like weeping don't last
Endure for a night.
endure for a night.
But joy come in the morning.
Exactly.
That's what they say. What Pastor Glow say? What she said, at the end of the day gonna end.
Yes. At the end of the day gonna end. But trusting the process as a mantra has just been like more what I hear in my head right now is like, God, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you to guide my life. I trust you with my journey. I know that you put me here for a reason. And if you're putting something before me, then I know that's the path that I'm supposed to be going on. And what I found is that the more that I trust the process, the more that I trust God, the more that I trust myself, there's so much more ease.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've taken pride in being a strong woman, just life situations and circumstances. But I really want the ease of trusting the process, trusting that God's guiding me, because, baby, I don't have the GPS to where I'm supposed to be going. Ain't no direction.
And it's that release of control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Me and you had a discussion one day, and we was like, we always say, God take the wheel. God take the wheel. But when he take the wheel, we still over there in the passenger side trying to hit the brakes.
Turn that way.
We hitting the imaginary brakes in the passenger side. We still trying to tell him what our logic says.
Correct.
And we're still trying to tell him, like, there's no way you put this in front of me for a reason. Like, why? Why is this how you had to teach me? Why was this the example you had to give me?
I have questions and I demand answers.
Listen, and I still ask my questions. Don't get me wrong. God made me a question asker. And I have fully embraced it.
Yes.
Hence me being a life coach. I ask challenging questions for
and a
living.
podcaster. Correct.
But trust the process has evolved from a mantra to a philosophy at this point, because like you said, it's faith. And it's like, I know for a fact I don't know what's coming.
No idea.
And I rather surrender to the fact that I don't know versus trying to resist it. Because that resistance kept me stuck.
Yeah.
That resistance kept me anxious.
Yeah.
That resistance kept me angry.
Yeah.
Even sad in situations that I knew I had no control over.
You know, as you say that, it reminds me of a dream one of my clients shared with me. And basically it was her sharing that we stay in situations, whether that be anything, places, relationships, jobs, mindsets. And we know that we're being called to something else, but we're steady trying to charge ourselves or find a place to charge ourselves in these existences. And I think that's what it is like, we know that we need to surrender or let something go, but it's like, that's all I ever known.
Exactly.
This is my comfort zone. This is my stuff. This is my person. This is my place. And the
that goes on with
surrender
behaviors too.
Oh yeah. The surrender is so hard. I've come up with a new philosophy for failure, and I have to thank the gym for that. Like, I literally have to be like, Jim, thank you, because my relationship with failure is completely different. I go to the gym to fail. I go to the gym to push to the max, whatever body part I'm working, so that it does fail, so that it can grow. And that surrender, metaphysical surrender with my muscles, but I have to go to failure. I have to get to a breaking point, and then you can let it go. Because
that's where the lessons are learned. You learn the most when you're doing a back squat and your form is off. When your lower back start pinching your ass.
You're going to mess something up. You're going to be hurt for weeks.
When your lower back start pinching you because your form not right in that back squat, I bet you don't do it again.
Never.
I bet you go ask questions. I bet you go get that trainer. And you say, show me this exactly how I'm supposed to be doing it, because I refuse to mess up my back doing it. You don't give up.
Yeah.
You don't stop. You actually go ask for help.
Yeah.
You get direction and you try again. So like you said, I can definitely relate to that failure, because we fail in the gym more than we succeed.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
And then once you learn something, you have to develop it in condition. Just like you do in the gym, you have to do it over and over again in order to get it right. It's the same thing with your personal development. Any new habit that you create, you have to do it over and over again in order for it to be developed. It's conditioning.
Absolutely.
And I think I've adapted that with all parts of my life. Like, I have to keep going. You just got to keep going. You can't stop. Let's keep going, Ty. Hey, regulators, I know you're listening and you're like, why did it stop right there? That is part 1 of this episode. Please make sure that you are following me on all platforms so you know when the next episode is going to be released. And also make sure you comment, like, subscribe. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking when you're listening to these episodes, and I want to know what you want from me in the future. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you know when part 2 is dropping.